Okay, I have all of my pieces cut for the flying geese, and the first step that we're going to do is to put a diagonal line across the back of each one of the 2 3/4 inch squares. So each one of them will have a line drawn on the back, and if you have they're very dark fabric, there is a white pencil that can be used if the back of your fabric is very dark, because if the pencil line is not going to show up, then you can use a white pencil instead. So each piece is going to get the line drawn on the back. That's the front, so I'm going to put this on the back. And all of these 4 different colors of the 2 3/4 inch triangles is going to get a line on the back. Or there's another option that I'm going to show you at my machine to set things up so that you don't have to draw the line, and you'll just simply put the piece of fabric onto the corner and you're going to stitch from corner to corner, and I'll show you how to set that up on the machine. The objective here is to find some way to be able to sew a line from corner to corner without having to spend the time of actually drawing the pencil line. When you're sewing, if you can eyeball it from there to there and go ahead and sew, that's great. However, what you can do is have a line extending further along here, which makes it easier for you to follow. Now, this is a piece of foam plastic that I have set up and around the arm of my machine, so I wouldn't mind having a line drawn on here, but obviously for most people on their cabinets you don't want to do that. So instead I will put a piece of tape that can later be removed, and I'm just going to stick it down so we can draw on the tape without damaging your cabinet. To line this up, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to follow along the center line, and to make sure that I've got it straight, I can make sure these other lines are lining up on that side as well. So you can see that it's pretty well straight on. So now that I am satisfied with this line, it's not skewed off. You can see here that this is being skewed off. So I've got that lined up nice and straight, and it's following that straight line. So I'm just going to take my marker and I'm going to do a line on this tape. You can see my tape wasn't put on straight, however my line is straight. So now as I'm sewing, I'm still going to go from corner to corner of this piece. So I'm going to start sewing at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain this bottom corner along that line. And there you have it. Now this is going to get folded over and pressed in place. However, you can see now the object of this is for this piece to be totally matched up with the bottom piece, but it doesn't slightly. So when you're stitching, just stitch just to the left of that seam, which will give enough room for the fabric to actually fold over, and then it'll get lined up properly. So I'm actually going to pick this out and restitch it, and it's going to be, then it'll have room to allow for that fold. Okay, what we're going to be doing is putting our square on top of the one end of the background piece. In my case I used color number 5, whereas you might have used color number 1. It's going to be placed down there, and you're going to stitch along that line. However, if we stitch right on that line, when you go to fold this over, you'll see that it doesn't quite match the corners completely of the background piece. So instead, we're going to stitch just to the inside edge from that pencil line. So when we fold this over, it's going to match perfectly. So once you've sewn it, press it, trim this down to 1/4 inch, either by using scissors or you can use your rotary cutter. Yep. Now be careful that you're trimming through both layers and not through the top layer. Once you've got that trimmed, we're going to take the second piece of that color and place it on the other end, and again sew just to the inside of that line. And what we'll end up with is one of your flying geese. And you're going to have 2 sets of each color, and then we'll come back and deal with the rest of them. Now that I have the left hand piece put on, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Each one has been pressed and trimmed, so now I can take the matching piece to that, right sides together, and now I'm going to sew from this corner to this corner and do the same thing. You're going to stitch just to the inside of your marked line, press it, and then trim it. And make sure that, well, you'll end up with 2 of each different color. Now that we have the second point put on, each pair is going to be sewn together so that the points are going in the same direction. Right sides together, and I'm going to sew each pair together and press the seam in either direction. Okay, we're going to now trim these blocks to 5 inches, and again we're going to be trimming both sides, so you want to find orientation points. Because this is going down to 5 inches, then our center line is going to be 2.5 inches, and on this ruler I have a 45-degree angle, which actually works very nicely onto that line, but I need to find there's my 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, and my points are lining up at 2.5 inches. So now I'm going to trim the bottom and that side. I'm going to turn this so I don't do something awkward. Now those 2 sides are trimmed, so I'm going to turn the block, and now we have that side and that side to do. So instead, again, I'm looking for my 2.5 inches from my center points, 2.5 inches from my center line, from that line of the fabric, 2.5, 2.5, and you can see on this side I'm at 5 inches for the bottom, and I'm at 5 inches for the bottom here. So now I can go ahead and trim this, and I'm going to do a wheelie here and trim the side. So trim all those and then bring all the squares back. Now that our squares are trimmed down to 5 inches, arrange the blocks in whatever pattern you like. You can have them both pointed, everything pointed in one direction, or you can have some of them pointing out. You can have them pointing out, which ends up being interesting in there because you created a diamond in the center, or have these going up, turn right, and turn right, so that now you've got a circle of geese flying in a spiral pattern. So you're going to sew the 2 top pieces together, the 2 bottom pieces together, press the seams in opposite direction, and then join the two halves, and your flying geese are done.